To speak of divine release is to speak of something far grander than the heart's lesser longings. The phrase itself may stir images of escape, escape from burdens, from trials, from the grey routine of days that seem to blend one into another. And yet, if we are to understand what it means to be chosen for such a release, we must first discard the comforting illusions that often cloud our vision. For to be released by the divine is not to be lifted out of the fray. It is to be ushered deeper into the heart of reality itself. It is not an end to struggle, but a beginning of a new kind of strength. Consider this: a prisoner who merely longs to walk free from iron bars may one day find the door open, but if he walks into the world still bound by the chains of fear, bitterness, or unbelief, is he truly free? No, his prison has simply changed shape. Likewise, many of us stand on the threshold of release, yet are tempted to imagine that it will mean the absence of hardship or the effortless arrival of peace. The chosen ones are called to something more profound. Divine release is not a flight from suffering. It is a revelation of who you were meant to be in the midst of it. The days leading to June 1st are not arbitrary. You are drawn to this message because something is being stirred within you, a remembrance perhaps of a purpose too great to ignore any longer. The walls that have hemmed you in, whether of circumstance, self-doubt, or unseen opposition, are beginning to tremble. But the question remains: will you be prepared to walk through them when they fall? For to be chosen is not to be exempt from preparation. It is to be consecrated for it. Every delay you have faced, every unanswered prayer, every midnight wrestle of the soul, these were not denials but the forging of the vessel. The treasure about to be entrusted to you could not be held by untested hands. It is easy to ask for breakthrough when one imagines it will only bring delight. But the truth is that divine release will also summon you to new responsibilities. Freedom is a weight just as much as it is a gift. When the appointed hour comes, and it is nearer now than you think, you will be asked not merely to enjoy it, but to steward it. The ones who will flourish in the new season are those who have allowed the waiting to deepen their character, rather than embitter it. They will rise not as those demanding reward, but as those ready to serve. And so I urge you, do not count the days as though watching a clock, but let each moment from now until June 1st be one of intentional preparation. Examine your heart, release what must be released, strengthen what must be strengthened. Divine release is not a passive gift, but an active calling. You will be called to walk through doors you once only dreamed of, and when you do, remember this: your freedom is not for you alone. It is given that you might become an agent of freedom for others. The truest release is not an escape from life, but an awakening to it. You are being readied not to leave the world behind, but to enter it more fully, carrying the light you were always meant to bear. If you'd like, I can write additional keynotes in the same style, or expand this further into a complete speech suitable for delivery. Would you like to? Of course. Here is an expanded version blending two keynotes, drawn from Keynote 1 and Keynote 3, written in a reflective, philosophical tone, inspired by C.C. Lewis's style, about 600 words, and without headings. It is a strange thing to live in a world so preoccupied with what can be touched and measured, while all the while the deepest forces shaping that world remain unseen. To those who are called, those who are chosen, this truth is not a burden, but an invitation. You have sensed, perhaps faintly or with growing certainty, that reality extends beyond what your eyes can confirm. The seen world is but the shadow cast by a greater light, and the message that has reached you before June 1st is no mere accident. It is a summons from that deeper realm where time and space do not govern the movements of grace. You may have asked yourself, why now? Why me? Yet the very presence of this question in your heart is a sign of your readiness. For those who are asleep to the unseen rarely ask it. To be chosen is to be awakened, not merely to privilege, but to responsibility. You are being called to prepare for a release that has already begun in ways you cannot yet perceive, just as the roots of a mighty tree, deep and unseen, before the first green shoot pierces the soil. So too has the work of the divine been unfolding beneath the surface of your life. But let us be clear, this release is not a release from life, but into it. The temptation will be to imagine it as some future moment of spectacle, a sudden lifting of every weight, an end to every struggle. Yet, the deeper truth is that the greatest works of heaven are most often clothed in ordinary garments. You will awaken one day, perhaps soon, to find that your mind is clearer, your courage stronger, your path illuminated in ways that seemed impossible. And you will understand then that the release has come, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Expectation is the language of those who are preparing for this unseen reality to break through. It is not idle daydreaming, nor the foolish clinging to false hope. It is rather the alignment of the soul with the currents of grace already moving toward you. To expect is to stretch out the hands of faith, even when the horizon appears empty. It is to live each moment as though the fulfillment were already assured, because in the unseen realm, it is. Yet many will falter here. They will look at their circumstances, unchanged, perhaps even worsening, and they will allow disappointment to take root. Do not let this be you. Understand that heaven's clock does not tick in step with earthly time. What is promised will arrive not a moment too soon, nor a second too late. The question is not whether release will come, but whether you will be standing in readiness when it does. This is why you must cultivate expectation as a daily discipline. Speak not the language of despair, but that of preparation. Carry yourself as one who is already marked for greater things, because you are. There is no arrogance in this posture, only humility before the one who calls. You are not chosen for your merit, but for your willingness to be shaped. And so, as the days move swiftly toward June 1st, do not count them merely with the impatience of one waiting for a gift. Count them as a craftsman counts the final strokes before a masterpiece is unveiled. Each moment is another brush of grace, preparing you for the release to come. And when it does, you will not be surprised, for your heart will already have said, "I was waiting for this all along." If you'd like, I can write another section, or a full final speech, combining the keynotes as a unified flow. Just say the word. Here is an expanded version blending 3 keynotes, drawn from Keynote 1, Keynote 2, and Keynote 4, in a continuous, reflective tone inspired by C.S. Lewis's style, without naming him, about 600 words, without headings. It is often in the quiet moments, those that the world deems unremarkable, that the first stirrings of great movements begin. If these words have found you before June 1st, it is not by accident. Something older and deeper than time itself is at work. There is a release approaching, not of your own design nor on your schedule, but one woven into the fabric of your calling long before you suspected it existed. But to grasp this truth, one must first abandon the illusion that only the visible world matters. The greatest forces move in silence, in shadows, beneath the surfaces of our days. The divine crafts its finest works in hidden places and calls the chosen not merely to observe, but to participate. You must understand that this release is not an escape from life's trials, but an invitation into a fuller experience of life itself. Many yearn for release, thinking it means an end to hardship, a lifting of burdens, a clearing of obstacles. but those truly chosen will see beyond this lesser hope. Release of the deepest kind does not remove us from the fray, it empowers us to move through it with new vision and strength. It is not the softening of life, but the sharpening of the soul. There is a reason preparation precedes fulfillment. The delay you have faced is not a mark of divine indifference, it is the evidence of divine care. What must be forged in you cannot be rushed. A soldier is not handed a sword without first being trained to wield it. Likewise, the freedom to which you are being called is not for ease but for purpose. Release is a weight as well as a gift, and you must be ready to bear it. The world may expect the chosen to shine merely for their own sake, but heaven expects them to become instruments through which others may also find light. And so this season, these final days before the threshold, is not one of passive waiting, but of active preparation. Expectation itself is an act of faith. It is the invisible alignment of your inner life with what is yet unseen. To expect rightly is to prepare diligently, to sharpen your awareness so that when the appointed hour arrives, you meet it not as a spectator, but as a participant. There is a profound difference between longing and readiness. Many will long for breakthrough, but few will have prepared to steward it well. You may feel at times the tension between what you have been promised and what you presently see. The visible world may still appear unchanged, yet remember this: the unseen realm moves according to its own rhythms. What is being prepared for you is advancing, even when you cannot trace its steps. The roots of your future are growing in the dark. The release you await is not pending approval, it is pending your readiness to receive it. Do not mistake comfort for consecration. The chosen are not called to an easy path, but to one of depth and purpose. Before June 1st arrives, search your heart. Lay down what must be laid down: fear, resentment, lesser ambitions. Take up what must be taken: faith, courage, humility. You are being invited into a work far greater than yourself, and when the moment of release comes, you will be required not simply to celebrate it, but to walk faithfully in its demands. The unseen realm is stirring. The call has reached you for a reason. Divine release is nearer than you think. Will you be found ready when it comes? If you'd like, I can also expand this further into a full speech that weaves all 5 keynotes seamlessly. Just say the word. Here is an expanded version blending 4 keynotes drawn from Keynote 1, Keynote 2, Keynote 3, and Keynote 4, in the tone of C.C. Lewis, without naming him, about 600 words, and without headings. If these words have reached you before June 1st, take heed. They have found you by design, not by chance. There are movements in the unseen world that far outweigh the noise of the visible. We often imagine that only what we can measure, touch, and explain is real, yet the deepest realities lie beneath the surface. The divine works in ways both subtle and sovereign, and what is about to unfold in your life belongs first to that hidden order. You have been chosen not merely to witness this work, but to participate in it, and participation requires preparation. Too many mistake divine release for an escape from struggle. They think it is a sudden and effortless lifting of burdens, a magical shift into ease. But the chosen know better, or they soon will. True release is not an exit from life's trials. It is a transformation of the soul's posture within them. The truest kind of freedom is not the absence of external chains, but the breaking of internal ones. Many who walk unbound in the world remain captives in spirit. The divine seeks to free you first where it matters most, inwardly, so that when the outward release comes, you will be able to steward it well. This is why waiting matters. The delay is not denial, It is preparation. We are not called merely to wish for breakthrough, but to be ready to bear its weight when it arrives. Too often people cry out for doors to open without considering what lies on the other side. A calling is never given for comfort, but for consecration. Those chosen are not set apart for ease, but for impact. You will be entrusted with influence, with opportunities, with responsibilities that require a spirit fortified by patience and trust. If you cannot carry the weight of waiting, how will you carry the weight of release? Expectation is the language of readiness. To expect rightly is not to drift in wishful thinking, but to stand firm in quiet certainty. The world may mock such expectation, calling it naive or foolish, yet those who walk with the divine understand that expectation is faith expressed through posture. It shapes the way we speak, act, and think long before fulfillment arrives, and in this shaping, we ourselves are changed. The waiting is never wasted. It sculpts the soul to match the magnitude of the coming gift. Understand this: the process itself is a gift. The preparation you endure now is part of your consecration. You are not being readied for mere blessing, but for service. The release that is coming is not for your sake alone. The chosen are chosen to be channels. What you receive is meant to flow through you to others, and so your readiness must extend beyond personal longing to a willingness to bear the responsibility that release will bring. The breakthrough you seek is tied to a greater purpose, one that stretches beyond your comfort into the lives you are called to touch. Time, as you know it, is only a shadow of eternity. While June 1st marks a point on the calendar, heaven's clock moves according to a different rhythm. What matters is not the date, but the readiness of your heart when the moment comes. And come it will. The unseen realm is already stirring. Align yourself with its movements. Watch, prepare, and above all, expect, not as one entitled, but as one entrusted. You are being called into something far greater than yourself. The question is not whether divine release will come, but whether you will be found ready when it does. If you want, I can now expand all 5 keynotes into a full-flowing, complete speech. Just say the word. Here is the final expanded version, blending all 5 keynotes into a single, seamless, reflective meditation in the style of C.C. Lewis, without naming him, crafted with a depth of tone, roughly 600 words, and presented without headings. If this message has found you before June 1st, it has not wandered to you by accident. Nothing so pointed arrives by chance. This is a summons wrapped in language, a whisper from the edge of time, urging you to take your place. There is a release coming, not the sort imagined in dreams of escape, but one born from eternity, reaching through the veil to meet you where you are. It will not always look like deliverance to the eye, but the heart will know. You have not merely been waiting, you have been watched, weighed, and prepared. The world, loud and hurried, tells you to only trust what can be seen and touched. But those who are chosen learn to live by a deeper truth. The unseen realm is more real than the one before our eyes. It is from that invisible plane that all visible things are shaped. Your present frustrations, your delays, even the silences from heaven, none of them are evidence of abandonment. Rather, they are proof that something is being formed in secret. What seems still is not stagnant. Beneath the surface, the soil is breaking, the roots are growing, the hour is drawing near. Yet divine release is not an escape hatch. It is not the sudden absence of difficulty, but the arrival of clarity, strength, and purpose within it. You are not being delivered from the path. You are being fitted to walk it differently. Those who are truly released are not those who run from pressure, but those who emerge from it refined. Heaven does not merely rescue, it reveals. And what is about to be revealed is not just a new season, but a new you. Expect it. Expectation is not weakness. It is not naivety or denial. Expectation is the stance of the soul that knows what has been promised and believes the promise giver. The world will tell you to lower your hopes to avoid disappointment, but faith says the opposite. Lift your head, raise your gaze, stand like one who is expecting a knock at the door, not because of entitlement, but because of alignment. Those who expect in faith will recognize when it arrives. Those who don't will miss it when it comes. Yet let this be said plainly: you were not chosen for ease. You were chosen for consecration. You were not pulled from the crowd to be admired, but to be assigned. The release you long for is not just a gift, it is a trust. You will be asked to carry what others cannot. The weight of purpose is not light, but it is holy, and it has been prepared for your shoulders alone. Before June 1st arrives, search yourself. Have you only been waiting for relief, or have you been preparing for responsibility? The time is closer than it seems. The calendar may still have days remaining, but heaven is not bound by earthly clocks. The winds are already shifting, the ground already trembling beneath the weight of what is coming. When the moment arrives, it will not ask for your opinion. It will ask for your obedience. Will you be ready? Will you recognize it, or will it pass like rain on a roof while you sleep? You were not made for small things. You were not called to drift. If this has reached you now, it is because the gates are beginning to open, and heaven is seeking those ready to walk through, not to escape, but to enter, not to be lifted above life, but to be planted deeply within it, changed, charged, and chosen. And you, yes you, have been marked for release.